Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Taylor, or as I go by the other guy TJB. Today I am giving my review of Shin Megami Tensei 5. The initial reviews of this game have sparked quite a bit of controversy. As a fan of JRPGs, Persona, and Atlas in general, I am very much aware of the strife that some amongst their fanbase have towards the other franchise. I'm going to say that regardless of how you feel about Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, you should play this game. For this review, I will be going over nearly every aspect of the game. This will include the story, characters, gameplay, level design, dialogue, and so forth. I will also wrap things up with my overall thoughts and conclusions on the game, as well as what I would like to see in future installments. That said, this is a warning that I will be talking about spoilers for the entire game, so be warned going forward. Now, young man, let us begin. First, I will say that this game is not Persona 5. That is actually in fact because it is Shin Megami Tensei 5. SMT 5 feels like a true sequel to the series that builds on what works on the past series while adding to it by bringing in a brand new world to explore. Shin Megami Tensei 5 does a great job of bringing the world of Dot, many of the demons from the Shin Megami universe we know and love, and a brand new story about the world of humans and demons coming together, all in a brand new experience. I played the game on a near 100% playthrough, and I did it on normal. Regrettably. In hindsight, I wish I had done it on hard, but due to not wanting to take too long, which I did anyways, and to get out a bunch of content, which I still have yet to do. I ended up doing every side quest, defeating Shiva, and most of the DLC quests, minus the Mitamas, let's be honest, no one cares about that shit, and the Return of the True Demon, which I never ended up starting. I didn't finish the compendium either, but you can't unlock everything unless you achieve all 4 endings anyways. With that said, I feel I got to experience enough to give a review on everything the game has to offer. First thing I want to discuss and get the particulars into is the story and its characters. You play as a protagonist who is a young high schooler in Japan and are introduced to a few of your fellow classmates Yuzuru, Tao, Miyazu, and Ichiro. Unlike Persona, this game doesn't go into depth into each character, who they are, and their struggles. But regardless, each character has a purpose and a part to play in the story. One of the characters, however, will be pretty much left out unless you do one of the side quests. The fact that this game has been slammed for its lack of character development is really stupid. It is entirely possible to tell a good story with the plot not being driven by a character's development. This game focuses on a war between gods, angels, and demons, and the protagonists influence it all. Not to mention, Ichiro has a massive character development where he goes from being the kid who's different in school and being bullied to becoming a Nahabino himself, finding his cause and beliefs and pursuing them regardless of what will happen. During my playthrough, I was making fun of him for how he came off as a budget wannabe Ryuji, when he turned out becoming what appeared to be Super Saiyan Ryuji by the end. He was a great character, and the writers did a great job of how he showed progress through the story. This brings back to my point that SMT 5 isn't Persona 5, but it doesn't have to be, and ultimately, I'm glad it's not. What I'm trying to prove here is that the stigma that this game doesn't do what Persona 5 does, so it's not good, is completely false, just because the demons and the personas are nearly the same. And it's an Atlas game, that doesn't mean the two titles also have to do the same. Overall, the story is pretty solid and does enough to get by. The story isn't exactly straightforward at times, especially during the second arc with Lamu. The story has a purpose, but at times doesn't exactly feel clear, and while playing, doesn't make sense until information is presented to you. Dealing with Lamu just feels like it's happening, but never explains to you why it's actually happening or what its purpose is. It isn't until later where you realize that this part of the story is to show you the significance of a Nahabino and what they are capable of. By far the best part of the story is the end and everything that takes place between the summit meeting and the finale. It's at this point of the game where you really feel the story take a big step up a notch. Upon my quest to do a near 100% run, my goal was to get the true ending. That said, I did have to look up what was required to do so in order to get the desired outcome. I'm going to be honest and say that in order to get the true ending, you really have to go out of your way to make sure you leave no stone unturned. I nearly missed it twice. I almost didn't complete the Succession of Rock questline because I never realized I had to talk to Miyazu in the fairy village until I couldn't anymore. If I hadn't looked that up, I would have been screwed. Also, there are reports that in order to achieve the 4th ending, you need to do a multitude of quests before defeating Metatron. It's actually not true. I defeated Metatron before finishing the Succession Raw and fighting Shiva, and yet I was still able to get the 4th ending. I'm not sure why at the end of the day, as this could have been due to my path choices and decisions, the fact I did everything nearly, or something else that will only determine with time until more people figure out the mechanics of how decisions affect outcomes and so forth. I did enjoy the ending, but I don't know if the true ending was really that much of a true ending. As of the time of me creating this, I have not seen the other endings yet, but I have read that the other endings were more satisfying in comparison. Each ending and path gives you the ability to unlock different fusions based on the fights and outcomes that follow your ending choice. This actually gives you a purpose for those who tend to be a hardcore completionist to go back and go through the game in order to unlock all the possible fusions. On top of that, when doing a New Game Plus playthrough, you have the choices of doing either Newborn or Reborn playthrough. Newborn gives you little at the start and is close as you can get to doing a new playthrough with only enemy info, demon compendium, unlocked fusions, and certain miracles, whereas Reborn lets you start a new game with nearly everything you had upon completing right at the start of your new game. The beauty of this, in addition to added replay value, is that the choice of both options helps you if you want to do a quick run through for different endings and unlock different fusions, or if you want to go through another playthrough on a different difficulty in case you want to try different builds, fusions, and characters on a fresh start. When it comes to the combat, Shin Megami Tensei V follows the tradition of its predecessors with turn-based combat, which focuses on limited turns given for you and your enemy. As a longtime fan and lover of turn-based RPGs, I do appreciate the combat system and how important it is to capitalize on maximizing the efficiency of your turns due to how easily you yourself can be punished by the stronger enemies in the game. One of my favorite aspects of SMT V is the difficulty of the game and the fact that if you don't have a team with decent builds or strategies on how each demon is being utilized, you will get your ass handed to you on a silver platter. Honestly, wish more games were as challenging as SMT V is. In my video I made about Persona 5 Royal, I actually griped about how one of my few issues with the game was how easy it felt throughout the majority of the game. Gladly, I can say that really isn't the case for SMT V. For the most part, the game was challenging and there was very few times where I didn't have to make sure I had select members in order to deal with corresponding enemies. Even though I did enjoy the difficulty, I did feel the mid-game did ease up quite a bit until the Demon King's Castle and Taito. This was most likely due to the fact that some of the special fusions you get access to during this part of the game are pretty strong. I ended up using Yoshitsune, Alice, Black Frost, and Idon quite a bit and felt like using them with some variations in other team members had me face rolling bosses and stronger enemies quite often. This could be due to my team, having builds and strategies, having a ground understanding of the game and the mechanics, or most likely a combination of all these. I didn't feel like I was really challenged much in the late game either, until I got to Shiva, but that was to be expected, of course. Everything post Shiva was a breeze, but that was due to the fact that I was so overleveled since I had to prep for Shiva and was level 94 when fighting him. This is ultimately why I wish I'd played the game on hard, which I had mentioned earlier. When it comes to SMT, the series is known for its vast amount of unique looking characters and demons. Many of the characters that are iconic to the franchise come back in 5, with the addition of some new faces and a couple redesigns as well. The new additions look incredible, such as Anahita, Mana Angel, Fion, Nuwa, Amanazako, and Abdiel to name a few. Even some of the redesigns look great too. Upon coming up on the ending of the game, I was talking about it would be cool if they gave Lucifer a redesign since he's had the same look for quite some time now. Sure enough, when it comes time to face him, he reveals his new form and he looks completely badass now. Aside from his new looks, the final fight was entertaining as the Morning Star changed from a unique ability of his to a mechanic instead. The final fights and all the ones leading up to it were an absolute blast, and the different designs for all the characters were totally badass. I have to admit, I liked them so much I was a little sad that they all weren't fusible. One of the most welcome changes, and in my opinion the best addition, is the open world of Dot we get to explore. Never before in the SMT series have we had actual areas to explore that weren't just point marker on a map. Exploring Da'at, seeing what different demons there were, looking for memons and various treasures was always fun. Aside from the shared theme of the post-apocalyptic look in Tokyo, each of the 4 major areas felt different enough, with Taito by far being the most unique. As fun as exploring the open areas of Dot were, the linear maze-like sections of the Demon's King Castle and the Temple of Eternity were anything but. The difference between the 2 areas cannot be overstated. Dot feels so well laid out and executed compared to the linear mazes which just felt like they were thrown into the game. SMT has had maps in prior series in which you have to find your way through, but playing through them feels like something nearly copy-pasted directly from SMT 3, aside from nice new aesthetics. I've personally never been a fan of the linear maze-like sections of 3, but it feels like nothing was done to improve them either. Getting blown around by giant fans in the Demon's King castle felt like a half-assed mechanic because apparently the guy can't afford AC in his giant-ass castle. Temple of Eternity only had one cheap time stop mechanic, which only occurred 3 times as well, as you occasionally have to fight as the way forward is blocked by a wall of enemies. Thankfully, these areas of the game are fairly short and only a small section of the game. If I had to use one word to describe SMT V OST, I would say it's quite sound. And yes, I do mean that quite literally and figuratively. The game has a plethora of battle themes for different areas, as well as numerous bosses having their own unique themes. Music does a good job of matching a lot of the tones and setting the mood for big battles. There wasn't anything that I really loved, but I did enjoy the Taito theme as well as a few of the boss themes. There really isn't much to say about the OST, but at the end of the day, it does a good job and gets the job done. Overall, I did very thoroughly enjoy my experience with Shin Megami Tensei 5. The overall harder difficulty, wide variety of demons, and the vast world of Dot will easily give you an experience that you can sink 50 plus hours into. During my playthrough, I spent 75 hours in total going through and experienced nearly everything the game had to offer. Amidst some flaws in the game such as terrible maze sections and a barely better than average story, its strengths still shine through. Exploring every corner of Dot to see everything it has to offer, creating different teams of demons and builds for your protag, tons to explore and collect, and plenty of reasons for New Game Plus, make SMT 5 still one of the better games I've experienced recently. Overall, I'm glad with the improvement implemented into SMT 5, which gives me hopes for more improvements in the next iteration, especially when the faults in SMT 5 are easily correctable. I give Shin Megami Tensei 5 an 8 out of 10 due to liking a more challenging JRPG as well as a variety of demons spread throughout Dot. One of my favorite things is a JRPG with a ton of content to sink your teeth into, along with some insane bosses that will challenge any player. I thoroughly enjoyed my experience, and I will say that the game has a lot of things I was looking forward to, so I get if people feel I am a little biased towards the title. That said, I do recommend SMT 5 to JRPG lovers, as it surely is one of the best RPGs of 2021. That is going to be it for my review, and I hope you liked it. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, since it does greatly help me out. Also, I am sorry for the hiatus as of late, since I have been taking a break to work on other things outside of making videos and content. I will be back to making more videos regularly here coming up within the next month or two as I continue to tackle other things in life at the moment. Also wanted to give a quick shout out to all the new subs as well. Thank you and expect more content on the way soon. Anyway, thank you once again and I will see you guys next time. Take care and have a great day. Deuces.